Hey there, folks. Today, this is a big one. In a moment, less than 60 seconds, I think, I'm going to be speaking with a real American hero, General Flynn. I'm going to be talking to him about, doesn't get bigger than this, the deep state and his call today for Pam Bondi to be replaced with another American hero, Sidney Powell. This is big stuff. It's hot stuff. Stay tuned. Folks, I told you that I would have General Mike Flynn on this program, and here he is. General Flynn, listen, I love you. I admire you. I see what you post out there. You know, I follow you on X, and it's so great to have your voice out there in the midst of all the madness that we're going through. This morning, I was thrilled to see you call for Sidney Powell, the great Sidney Powell, to be the new Attorney General to replace Pam Bondi. That would be the greatest news I heard in a little while. Do you think that's possible? Well, let me just start with the question is, why do you think we're not seeing more action from the Attorney General Pam Bondi? It's baffled many people. It baffles me. I really don't get it.
Yeah. I can't put my finger on it, Eric, and I won't try to speculate too much because I'm not in the inner circle there inside of the Department of Justice. I would say that during the transition, prior to coming into the presidency, you have to have a plan. And it didn't seem like Pam Bondi was going to have any problems getting confirmed, and she did not. But one of the things that I didn't see is a plan that was articulated even during her confirmation hearing. I just heard a lot of answers to different things and a lot of problems about weaponization and such, which we all know about. But an actual plan to come in, and literally, like they say, hit the ground running. And it doesn't appear that they hit the ground running. It does not. And I know that you've got to get a team in place and all that. But I mean, we still have a lot of U.S. attorneys around the country that were put in place by the Biden administration. We still have many inside of the District of Columbia U.S. Attorney's Office, where Judge Jeanine Pirro is the current USAG. That place is still filled with vipers. I mean, so it doesn't seem like they had a plan to actually, number one, do some reforms and do some cleaning, house cleaning, and number two, go after the what we are now seeing and what we just witnessed here in the last couple of days with Comey and James's dismissal. I mean, I'm sure that they're going to be appealed and all that sort of business, but we shouldn't even be here. So that sort of tactical stuff said, Eric, I think really where we're at is Trump he has fallen into the trap of his first term again, and particularly inside of the Department of Justice. Different people, different times, but the same issues, right? It's still deep state. It's still people that are coming after him. It is not politics as usual.
All right. Well, the General Flynn, but the question is, how can that be? It doesn't make sense to me because Trump 2.0, Trump 47 is radically different. How would it be that he would allow Pam Bondi not to hit the ground running? How would he pick her to be his attorney general? I mean, is it because he thought it was going to be Matt Gaetz and then something happened and he had to shift?
Yeah.
I mean, what can explain where we are? Because the buck stops with
You're right. I mean, I do. Well, it was Matt Gaetz at first, right? And whether or not Matt would, be doing any different, I don't know, but he's definitely a different guy. And then they had to fall back on Pam Bondi. And I just feel like the people that are there are not doing the things that the United States, that the people of this country wanted Trump to do when he first walked into office. I mean, accountability was job number one. And of course, fixing our election system and getting a fair election system is job number two. And they both really are top priorities. And in both cases, I feel we have lost momentum. Now, on the election side, I feel very good where Trump is now, but I didn't feel good, 2 months ago. where we are with justice and accountability, not just with Russiagate, but with January 6th, with, we can go through the whole litany of things, everything. We are nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, nowhere. So clearly from the very beginning, Pam was the wrong choice. I'm sorry, Pam. I don't know her well. I've met her, but she's not the right choice, to lead the Department of Justice to get the things done that Trump said he was going to do. So he needs to get somebody new in there. And the funny thing about the Attorney General, Eric, is the Attorney General by the Constitution does not need to be a lawyer. That's a lot of people don't know that. What you need is a leader. And you need a leader of a large organization that can get in there and do the right things and make the right decisions and push the people that you do have, push the prosecutors that you do have to do the right things. I mean, there was another lawyer, good lawyer, who I also think could step into the role. And, well, I'll mention him, David Schoen. He's another good guy. You may know David. He supported one of Trump's impeachment hearings. David's another good guy. Whether Sidney's the right person or whether she wants the job, doesn't matter. We clearly don't have the right person leading the Department of Justice. At the end of the day, though, and this is, because I know a lot of people watch your show to include the President of the United States. The chief magistrate in the United States of America, the top lawyer or the top prosecutor or whatever you want to call it, the top law enforcement official, to be very precise, in the United States of America is the President of the United States, not the Attorney General. And Trump, he did this in the first administration, and I watched it while I was going through my own persecution. He would say, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens over in the Department of Justice. We'll see what Rosenstein does. We'll see what Jeff Sessions does. And of course, what we saw was Trump's first presidency being completely undermined by the Mueller investigation. Well, now it's not necessarily being undermined. It's just being slow rolled. It's being slow rolled because. But
I still can't imagine that he would not be as upset about this as you are and as I am. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I think he is upset. I don't want to speculate on that, but I believe that Trump is upset because he's hearing it across the country right now from a lot of people that are in his camp, like me. I'm in his camp, and I want him to be successful. But I want him to understand that at a certain point in time, you got to pull the Band-Aid. And I wish he had done something differently at the beginning, but he didn't. He chose who he chose. Okay, fine. We waited to this point. I mean, we're talking about 9-10 months into the administration, and there's just nothing to show. And then this most recent decision by another judge who's, part of the whole problem with the judiciary. But these are things that were avoidable. These types of issues that we just witnessed with Comey and James, these were avoidable, are very easily avoidable. But when you go back to the beginning, when you're choosing these people, and I hate to revisit things, but Trump needs to say to himself now, because he's got very little time. I mean, we're under a year now to the next election. And I have said many times, Eric, that we are not, like Reagan said, one generation away from losing everything. We are one election away. We're not even one presidency, because I don't think if he doesn't get through this election, that's why I say accountability and the elections. Those are the two things. And those are both really deeply held America First issues, with all the other craziness going on around the world, with the foreign policy issues he's got. The two primary things that he must do that are clearly America First, MAGA base issues is hold people accountable and let's get our elections straightened out. And if he doesn't do those two things, and frankly, he doesn't have that much time to get that done.
Hey there, folks. As hard as it may be for us to believe, especially if we're in America, there are people in other parts of the world who have literally been enslaved because of their faith in Jesus Christ. Some of them for decades. Hundreds of thousands of them have been persecuted and enslaved in the Sudan. Together, right now, we can literally buy their freedom and save the lives of some precious brothers and sisters, give them the joy and hope we celebrate so freely. For only $250, you can provide life-saving aid this Christmas. You can buy a believer's freedom and provide them with much-needed food, a goat, and other necessary goods for their survival. Brothers and sisters enslaved and fearing for their lives just $250. Maybe you can give more. Maybe you can just give a portion of that. Every gift helps. Imagine buying the freedom of a fellow Christian believer. You can do it. Call 888-253-3522, 888-253-3522. Christian Solidarity International provides life-saving resources for persecuted Christians for almost 40 years, 888-253-3522, or go to ericmetaxas.com and click on the banner. You'll see it, ericmetaxas.com. Click on the banner. Please give someone the gift of getting their life back. Provide life and freedom for someone right now. God bless you. What do you make of a few days ago, the seditious six coming out with what is obviously orchestrated? Somebody in the deep state orchestrated this.
Clearly.
This is not organic. Who orchestrated it and why? I mean, clearly, at least my suspicion is they know something's coming down. They're scared to death. And so to sow division and confusion so that it can't come down, they put this out there preemptively. What do you suppose is behind that? What do you think they think Trump is going to use the military for? And so they want to sow doubt so that the military would balk.
Yeah. So, and you're right to use the phrase "sow doubt," because when you sow doubt in the mind of a service member, they don't have time to have these split second decision making that you have on in warfare, where should I doubt the orders of the officers appointed over me kind of thing. So this is really bad, really bad. And I'm glad to see Pete Hegseth with some of the responses that he's made already. Where does it come from? Well, if people don't understand that we are in the midst of a color revolution in this country, a clear takeover by a very strongly held ideological belief in communism and socialism, then you're just not going to get to where I'm at, where my head is at. The people that were chosen to do that messaging, you saw the types of backgrounds. One was CIA. One uses a different name, but is the wife of the former national security advisor to Joe Biden. I mean, these people, this was very thoughtful. This was very, very intentional, and their message was very clear. And they don't believe that they are going to get, injured by it at all. They don't really care about the social media, ripping apart that's happening to them, because the mainstream media isn't even touching it. In fact, they're championing them. They're allowing them to be champions for some cause of communism to take over this country. And that's the thing. I mean, if people think that this is just politics as usual, and I don't think that your audience does, because you have touched on an awful lot of issues over the time that you've been running your show. But I want people to understand in this country that we're in a really difficult time. I mean, people come up to me all the time, Eric, and they tell me that they're frightened for where our country is at. And can we actually get out of this? When you talk about these, they call them the seditious six, right? The seditious six. I mean, it's not about going after those people. What we have to understand is, and this is where Trump has to be in a place where he's got to understand that there is an entire intentional system that is going after him to get after America in order to take this country into on a completely different path in the years ahead. I'm sorry. I mean, the division that's being driven, and it's being driven by external forces and all this anti-Semitic stuff, all this Zionism, all this anti-Israel stuff. It's crazy. And I know this because the Chinese are directly involved in some of this. There are internal elements inside of this. There's clearly people on the internet. So all this division and all this divisiveness, these seditious six, they're another element of it. These are tactics. These are data points. And when you connect them all, you have to sit back and say, okay, what is it that we're facing? Well, we're continuing to face a revolution inside of this country to take over the United States of America. I personally believe that Trump is one that I think he understands that. And I do believe that he understands that. But I'm not sure he understands what to do about it. And that's where I think the people that are around him, and this is not just Pam Bondi, but this is other people around him. This is not politics as usual, folks. This is a very, very dangerous time. And if Trump doesn't get us through this next election, which is not a given, they never are, but this one is definitely at risk. When we look at When we look at the last election here that just took place a couple of weeks ago, I was told that nationwide, we're looking at 40 Muslims that won, different races. It's at school boards, municipalities, town councils, and of course, New York City is the most, the most prominent one. So what is happening in our country? Where is this heading? Yeah, it was good that Trump, designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. And I'm not jumping around here, folks. What I am is I'm talking about things that the president of the United States is trying to do and attempting to do, but he needs the people around him, and I mean in his close inner circle, to be out there beating the drum of Donald Trump and making sure that whatever he says and does, it's got to be repeated and repeated and repeated. And Trump is going to have to use the bully pulpit to, I think, to start talking to the American people even more. These quick clips of him in these media interviews that he does inside of the Oval Office are fine, but they're taken out of context and they're not enough. I actually would like to see the president do an Oval Office presentation to the American people and say, here's where we're at. He's not getting any help out of Congress. He's not getting any help out of the House, out of Johnson, out of Thune. These people can't stand him. By
the way, Thune, in case people are unaware, is a eunuch. I just want it to be very clear because a lot of people don't know that. I want to ask you about, we keep hearing things. For example, recently, it just seemed laid out in front of us. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama orchestrated this vile lie, this whole Russia thing. It was all orchestrated. And it seems like, okay, so now we got him. And then we hear nothing. What is going on? Is President Obama not responsible for this? Is Hillary Clinton not responsible? Are Comey and Clapper and Brennan and the whole gang, are they not responsible? What do you suppose is happening with all of that? I mean, is that what we're expecting Pam Bondi to deal with and she's not dealing with it? Who's supposed to be dealing with this? I just don't understand how we hear this stuff. Sounds like great news and then nothing. Who's working on this?
Yeah, the person responsible for doing it is Barack Obama. That's clear. And he led that conspiracy. Tulsi Gabbard gave a wonderful, presentation from the White House pulpit about the treason. She actually used the word treason. So Obama is just sort of the culprit and the guy, the mechanism around which they did this conspiracy to undermine, to take over the country, and the second after Trump won to undermine him. But the person responsible, to answer your question very directly, is the president of the United States of America. He's got to stand very calmly and very assuredly and very intentionally and say to the American people, we're going to take these people down that try to destroy this country. Now, the one thing that President Trump has is he has all kinds of executive authority powers granted to him by the Constitution of the United States of America. There's nobody else that has there's nobody else that even takes the oath that uses the word preserve the Constitution. He's the only one. I've taken the oath many times. I never had to use the word preserve, only the president of the United States. So Trump needs to realize what just happened are examples of him. And now I'm counseling. This is a counsel to Donald J. Trump, right? If he listens to this clip, President Donald J. Trump, I love the man. I backed him before. I stood with him, and I still want him to be incredibly successful. But Donald J. Trump needs to understand that he is responsible. The buck stops at the Resolute desk, and he has got to take this on himself, make it a priority, drive this home with the team around him and tell them, get this stuff done and get it done now. Pam Bondi obviously was not able to do it. And maybe Pam could sit there and go, well, I never got that kind of guidance from the president of the United States. Well, I can't imagine that. Because I've seen Trump with too many posts about things, and from when he was campaigning to now as the president. So I can't imagine that. So Trump's been very clear, but I do believe that Trump now needs to step in. What gets done is what the boss wants to get done. We say this in the military, what gets done is what gets checked. Donald Trump clearly clearly, and this is, if I were in the office one-on-one with him, I'd tell him, have you been checking this on a daily basis? Because it's pretty clear to me as a guy sitting on the outside who's paying very close attention that he has not. And he needs to check this stuff, because if this was avoidable, what just happened with James and Comey, which it clearly was avoidable, that answer should have been known by the president of the United States. And he should have said to Pam Bondi, a month ago, 2 months ago, and said, okay, lay out to me every possibility that we could screw this up. And if we had to get another U.S. attorney, and the gal that got put into the Eastern District, we had to get her injected. All she needed to have was somebody who was confirmed next to her in the court. That's it. I mean, this is a no-brainer. So I think what we have to do is, and this is a leader now talking, okay? Because I would never take responsibility, or I would never throw the blame at other people in my commands. I would always take responsibility, and I always have. So in the case of Donald J. Trump, I think at this point in time, he's got to assume the responsibility for this. And you know what? We want you to succeed. So take it, figure out how to solve it, and get after it. Because if you don't, we're in deep, deep trouble. We allow another month and a half to go by, and we enter the new year. Hey, the primary season starts in like March, April timeframe. We might be too late if you don't get this thing accomplished here, I think, in the next couple of days.
During the horrors of the Holocaust, Corrie ten Boom and her Dutch family, as told in her classic book, The Hiding Place, risked everything to shelter Jewish neighbors in their home. They were betrayed and sent to concentration camps, yet Corrie survived and went on to preach forgiveness and hope around the world. That same redemptive spirit lives on in Ten Boom Coffee. Working with Agro Cafe, an Israeli ag tech company, Ten Boom Coffee helps farmers around the world increase their harvests by 60%, improving both the quality of their beans and the quality of their lives. So every cup you pour becomes part of a legacy, one that stands for courage, kindness, and redemption. Visit tenboomcoffee.com. That's tenboomcoffee.com. Taste the goodness that changes lives. Use the code ERIC and save 10%. tenboomcoffee.com. Use the code ERIC.
I'll say it again, General Flynn. It is hard for me to believe the president doesn't understand all this. He's said enough that I get the impression he does understand all this, which is why I'm baffled why we're not seeing action. What the Seditious Six just put out actually gives me hope that they see something coming, that they've heard something's coming down. I don't know what it is, but I mean, all you have to do is remind me that, oh yeah, Tina Peters is still in jail. And then I say, what? That's not possible. You're kidding, right? There are things that have not happened that make no sense to most of us that love this president, that would do anything to help him succeed. He is the voice of the American people. We elected him overwhelmingly, and we do want to see action. And if we don't get justice, folks, you understand this, right? We need justice. This is not retribution. We can joke all we want with Ivan Raiklin about retribution. This is justice. If we don't have justice, it's over for America. We're talking about justice. We're talking holding people to account for evil actions that they have done to subvert
100%.
The will of we, the people, in 2016 and in the years since. We have to deal with that. And it really is tough to think that at this point, we have not dealt with that yet. I don't know what is going on. It's hard for me to believe that the president is distracted. I don't know what to think. I know that he's got a lot of folks around him that are warriors. When I see Stephen Miller or Sebastian Gorka or a whole bunch of these folks, boy, they get it. So I don't understand what is happening. I don't know. What Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are working on right now. But it does seem that many of us who love this president we are concerned.
Yeah. So let me get a little bit, I'll get a little bit biblical on you here. I won't say any, use any quotes or anything, but, we say that God wins, right? At the end, God wins in the end. And I know that you believe that. I believe that. But God expects those of us, like when you talk about warriors, God created warriors, right? there's a point in time where we're on our knees praying, and everybody needs to pray. Right? Everybody needs to pray. But then there's a point in time where we have to take a stand. We have to stand up and we have to say what we believe right here on earth. And I think right now we are in one of those moments, and a series of events have occurred over the last probably 6 weeks. It's everything from 50-year mortgages, which, I mean, and the price of gasoline, the price of food. You mentioned Tina Peters. Oh my God. I mean, the president of the United States is almost like it's embarrassing at this point in time for what the president of the United States has said about Tina Peters, but he is incapable of doing anything about it, at least from what he has demonstrated. But constitutionally, is he capable of doing something about it? 100%. Okay, 100%. And so all of the people around him that say, oh, Flynn's full of it. No, I'm not. That's just one thing, Tina Peters. And now we look at what we've been talking about, the seditious six, Comey, James, all these other people, Russiagate, J6. I mean, the fact that the former FBI director, who Trump chose, by the way, Wray, lied, in front of Congress. Where are the contempt of Congress? Where are the cases against these people? I mean, I could go on and on and on. And yet we have a lot of distraction by things that are overseas, right? The tail wagging the dog, right? Type of effort, right? Ukraine, Middle East, Venezuela. I mean, folks, and I'm telling you, Eric, the American people, the sentiment of the American people is, at least of the base, because I watch it quite closely, and I'm on the horn of a lot of people, over the last couple of months here. They really are asking what's going on, what is happening. So for those that are watching this show, for those that are around Trump, you just mentioned a couple of names. I'm going to tell you, the American people are tired of it. They've had enough of it, like I have, like what is coming across in my passion right now. That and again, I'm one of the biggest champions for Donald J. Trump. I'm probably the biggest champion because of what I went through. I could sit there and say, I want nothing to do with this guy. I want nothing to do with politics. No. Trump is frankly our savior right now. He is the champion. He's the guy that the American people said twice, we want you to save this country. And so that's my message to him. I want you to save this country. If that means you're going to have to do things with the system that you have, the constitutional systems, that the principles and values that you have, the executive authority that you have, then so be it. The business about accountability and the business about our elections, or election integrity and election security, are paramount. And I go back to that because I said it at the very beginning. If we don't have fair elections in the United States of America, we cannot have a constitutional republic. And we still do not have fair elections because we just went through an election where there was all kinds of problems, again, with machines and counting and the nonsense. Well, how are we still doing this? Where's the Department of Homeland Security that's supposed to be involved in these things? Where's the Department of Justice that's supposed to be involved in these things? Now, I know that Trump's got some good things going on, but again, it took too long. And now we have to move much faster, and we've got to be much smarter, and use our intellect and be very calculated. But he has to move at I call it the speed of war, right? The speed of war is much different on a normal battlefield. President Trump, we are at war right now. This country is at war, and we're facing the seditious six, who represent, a almost like a reconnaissance element that's coming out there in a political way to see what will happen, what will be the response. They're like probing our lines to see, will anything be done?
That's exactly right. I know you have to go. I hope that somebody close to President Trump will get him this conversation because, boy, we love this president, and I believe God has chosen him to save this nation. I believe we're in the process of doing that, but clearly there's some things that we have not yet done. General Flynn, God bless you. Thank you so much for being my guest.
God bless, Eric. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Folks, listen, if you've been injured in an accident or someone you love has been, this is something you really need to hear.
I've been talking with the team over at Legal Help Center, and they're absolutely committed to helping people just like you understand your rights and figure out what your case may truly be worth. And here's what sets them apart. When you choose Legal Help Center, you're getting a free consultation, no upfront costs whatsoever, agents available 24/7, a connection with a qualified local attorney, and clear guidance so you actually understand your rights. In other words, they make the entire process simple, professional, and genuinely helpful. So here's what to do. Call 800-575-9120. That's 800-575-9120. Or go to LegalHelpCenter.com. Find out how much money you may qualify for. Don't wait. Don't try to go it alone. Certainly don't attempt to become your own lawyer. Let the professionals at Legal Help Center handle this for you. Legal Help Center, helping you know your rights and what your case is really worth.
This Christmas, as we celebrate the Super Centennial coming up, Super Centennial 250th, there's no way, better way to support it than by supporting my friend, an American hero, Mike Lindell. He's one of the main sponsors on this program. He's the man behind My Pillow. He put his money where his mouth is. Some of you know this if you've watched the program. He stood up for the country. He was unfairly canceled by the big box stores. So I want us to stand with him. So please go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code ERIC to save big on pillows, sheets, slippers, everything you need for Christmas comfort. You'll sleep great, save big, celebrate freedom with My Pillow. Mypillow.com. Use the code ERIC.